Good morning and welcome to the Morning Scoop for Wednesday, June 17th, 2020. My name's Tom Orr. My guest today is Aaron Brown. He was a defensive lineman for the Buckeyes from 1974 to 1977. He was a captain and an All-American and was also just named as one of the members of the class of 2020 for the Ohio State Athletics Hall of Fame. Aaron, first of all, congratulations. What was it like to get that call?
Thank you, Tom. It was wonderful to get the call from a former member of my class from 74 to 77, Garth Cox. It was kind of interesting when he called me. I knew it was, when I seen the number, I said, oh, okay, this Garth is calling me, possibly telling me that I may be inducted into the Hall of Fame. So I had him call back when I had my family around, and everybody cheered, and it was like a big parade.
That's awesome. So, but not a total surprise then. You knew this was at least a possibility.
Well, he had called, a couple of weeks. We had talked, but the surprise came like on Mother's Day.
That's a pretty good day for a surprise.
It was.
You came from Warren, Ohio, so you were a Northeast Ohio kid, real football power area. Where were you recruited by other big Midwestern programs, Michigan, Notre Dame, Penn State, any of those? And if so, what made Ohio State the place you wanted to go?
Ohio State was my last visit, and I just fell in love with the campus. I had one of my former players that was there at the time. He was a senior, Vandy Cream. He recruited me and kind of showed me a great time around campus. And it was just, it's one of those feel-good places where, this is for you. And because of that, that's why I decided to attend Ohio State. It was just a great place. And Coach Hayes and staff welcomed me in open arms, me and my family. And they treated, my family and my friends who had driven me down just to a wonderful weekend. And yes, I was recruited by basically all the Big Ten schools, Nebraska, and a couple other places. But I knew Ohio State was the right place for me. I didn't want to play for the team up north. They already had a guy from my hometown named Tim Davis, and he's a pretty good nose guard that I admired and watched and tried to emulate sometimes. But it was just a great fit for me and the people that I met and played with.
Now, they had you listed as a middle guard. Were you basically the nose guard in a 3-4 kind of defense? Was that where your role was?
They call it 52 back then, but it was a 3-4 defense. I had some great coaches, the late Chuck Clausen, the late Dave Adolph, Mark Duffner, and the guy who recruited me and made it all happen, Coach George Hill. They were all fundamentally sound people and helped me become the player that I became to be while starting at Ohio State.
Going back through some of the old media guides to read up on some of those teams, there's a bunch of places where you're listed as the quickest athlete to play middle guard in Ohio State history. It was like, okay, all right. But then it said that gives him great versatility to play middle guard and middle linebacker depending on the play. Now, you're going to have to explain to me how you can be a nose tackle and also a middle linebacker. How did that work?
Well, when they say middle linebacker, all you do is instead of being on all fours, you stand up and you're a middle linebacker. You go from all fours to just standing up, and that was a rare opportunity for me to stand up. Believe me.
Yeah, so they weren't running you out in pass coverage or anything like that.
No, I wish.
Now, you were listed as 6'2", 228 pounds, which is not, obviously not the size of modern nose guards. But
right.
What I really want to know is 228 pounds, and it said your nickname was Chunky. Now I'm gonna need to know how someone at 228 pounds got nicknamed Chunky.
When I was born, my aunt used to call me Chunky Fat, so they condensed it, and I came to be known as Chunky, and it just stuck with me. I mean, I was an eater, but when you're a kid and you're a teenager, you had a lot of energy and you do a lot of running around. So it was hard for me to keep my weight on, and especially at Warren because we had great programs there. We had some great coaches, Coach Novak, Jim Hillis, Tom Batta. The names go on. Tony Napolet. The names go on and on and on, and that's why we were able to build such a great foundation there. And I know my senior year, my junior year, we won the first playoff state championship in the Akron Rubber Bowl against Cincinnati Preston. My senior year, we lost to Youngstown Cardinal Mooney, who had the great Ted Bell. So there were just some great memorable times between high school and college.
At 228 pounds, were you kind of a typical size for a nose guard at that point, or were you a little undersized?
No, I felt like I was kind of right there with when I looked at the guards. They were maybe 250, 260. Now, I had a good weight program, so that helped me in my quest to either beat them with my speed or sometimes overpower them. They would put me in the gaps sometimes so I wouldn't have to be double teamed so much. So, they tried to work it to my advantage so I was able to maneuver and able to make plays.
Now, your first 2 years, 1974, 1975, you were on two of the greatest teams in Ohio State history. Those were Archie Griffin years, Archie's Heisman seasons. Did you end up going up against him and Pete Johnson and those guys in practice? And if so, what was that like to try and tackle Pete Johnson in the middle of the line during practice?
Ooh, I'm trying to visualize that because Pete was a monster. He was thick from head to toe. He was bullish on people, but we had some good collisions. Yeah, I was the type of person that liked to hit too, so I wasn't backing off. So we respected each other's game, and Arch rarely played practice when we were tackling. So you didn't want to hit Arch anyway. He was the apex of our team. He was our leader. He was just a phenomenal player, phenomenal person. The Griffin family was. I got to know them very, very well because Ray Griffin was my roommate. And I would go over there on some Sundays and have dinner with them and kind of get to know the family. So it was a great opportunity for me during my second year, especially to get to know the Griffin family. In addition to that, we had some great players. The late Neil Cozen, Andy Creed, Pete Cusick, Nick Bonamisi, Brian Batchnagel, Tim Fox, the late Ken Coon. I mean, it goes on and on and on. They used to call us the 3Bs, Brown, Bonamisi, and Beeman. And Cornelius Green, another person that was instrumental in just helping us grow as athletes, as people on that huge campus of Ohio State. It was just phenomenal fun. The only thing that really makes me mad and bothers me, and you wake up at night, as Coach Urban Meyer would say, you think about losses more than wins. When we lost to my freshman year, USC, I think it was 18-17 in the Rose Bowl, and we could have won a national championship. And my sophomore year, we went back out there and played UCLA in the Rose Bowl and lost to them. We were the number one team in the nation, and we helped Dick Vermeer propel his career to the Philadelphia Eagles.
What I think a lot of people probably don't remember about the UCLA game was you guys had been out there, played that same UCLA team earlier in the year, and just absolutely kicked their tails.
Crushed them. And it was like, sometimes it's not good to play a team twice. And that was one of those situations where I think we were a little overconfident. We were 11-0, unbeaten, and we knew we were going out there and playing the same team that we had crushed them in the shoe. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case, and that's a game that just sticks with me forever.
Now, there was another bowl game, last game of your career, you guys also lost. That was Alabama in the 1978 Sugar Bowl. You had one of the most remarkable stat lines I've ever seen for a nose tackle in that game. 14 solo tackles, 2 assists in one game for a nose guard. What do you remember about that game? How on earth does a nose guard get 14 solo tackles in one game?
That's a good question because they had some phenomenal ball players. I remember Tony Nathan, and I played with Johnny Davis with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And, these guys were they had a huge offensive line. And I was playing against Dwight Stevens, who was one of the better centers in America at that time. So when I read up on those stats, I was like, 14 solo tackles? I was surprised. I couldn't believe it because they pounded us so badly because we weren't prepared to play Alabama. We were looking forward to going to the Rose Bowl again, but unfortunately we lost to the team up north. But I can only say I appreciate the fact that I had 14 tackles. I wish I had 12 tackles or 8 tackles, and we would have won the game because it featured 2 great coaches, Bear Bryant and Coach Hayes.
There was another rivalry you took a part in. Was another couple great coaches. You were right in the middle, right in the heart of the 10-year war, Woody and Bo. Do you have a most memorable game in that series? Is there one that sticks out from your 4 years that you remember forever?
My sophomore year, when I was player of the game, we won 21-14. Ray Griffin picked off the pass, I think right around the end of the game, that clinched the victory for us. It was an ongoing battle between myself and I can't think of the center's name because he was an All-American, and we met at a couple All-American trips. That was a memorable game. It was one of those back and forth games. Played at the team up north, and it was just a phenomenal win for us as a team, so to propel us to get back out to California. Unfortunately, that didn't end the way we wanted, but that game there was outstanding.
Now, was Woody doing the Michigan Monday thing while you were there, where you're practicing for Michigan every Monday, regardless of who you're playing later in that week?
Oh, we set aside time every Monday for that. Every Monday, you set aside time to prepare for the team up north. That was just customary. I remember, this is funny, the week of the game, he lined up everybody on a Sunday mid-afternoon. We were watching film, and he went down the line, and he punched you in the stomach and said, "Are you ready for the team up north?" And, he had that left hook that was pretty potent. And so he went down the line and punched everybody in the stomach and asked us if we were ready for the team up north. And obviously, you're going to say yes. That's if your stomach's not hurting too bad to talk.
What was that week like? What was the week of the game like? The week of the game, and then in the locker room before the game, just being in that room, there's old film of him giving pregame speeches and that kind of stuff, but I think the film that's out there is from like a game against Miami or something like that. What was he like in the locker room before the Michigan game?
Prior to the game, when you went out there to warm up and practice, he seemed, pretty even keeled. Once we went back into the locker room, and once, we knew we had like 10 or 15 minutes left before we went back and ran on the field, that was an exciting time for him to get you ready, get you fired up, to let you know who we're playing, how much we despise them, how much we need to beat them. They are our enemy. They are our rival. We cannot allow this team to come in our house, or we can go in their house and take this win. I mean, it was just one of those. You were already fired up because you're playing against the team up north. You've been preparing all week, so it wasn't about getting fired up. It was about just taking it to another level of anger, of frustration. of knowing that you got to play your best against them because they're bringing their best. I mean, it was a great rivalry that I split. Hated the fact that we lost, especially my senior year. But he was, he had us prepared and always kept us ready. And like I said, on the defensive side of the ball, Coach Hill and his staff did a wonderful job of calling the right plays and putting us in the right position to win.
Your freshman year is one of the most famous Ohio State-Michigan games there is. Ohio State won 12-10. Mike Lantry, the Michigan place kicker, missed a 33-yarder right at the gun. What do you remember about that game and just the last minutes of that game as Michigan's driving to potentially get in position for a game-winning field goal?
Oh, that was one of the. I know I was kind of rotating with Arnie. I think Arnie Jones back and forth against them, and I was able to make a good tackle against one of their tough running backs. It was just a great win, and I remember people storming the field after the game. It was kind of frightening, but the win itself just overlooked all the everything else. It was just one of those games that that you can't remember a whole heck of a lot after 45 years or whatever. But I know it was a great win. My greatest win was my sophomore year when we beat them at their house. That was a great win because we had to come back. We were going back and forth, and we had to make key plays to keep us in the game. And Rick Leach was doing a heck of a job of keeping us off balance. But we fought through that and made enough key plays, and Pete Johnson, I think, ran in for the touchdown that clinched the victory along with Ray Griffin's interception. But there's one more game I wanted to talk about real quick. The Oklahoma game, my senior year. Oklahoma had some of the greatest athletes on that field that day. They had Thomas Lott, J.C. Watt, Elvis Peacock, Buster Rhymes, Greg Roberts, and there was one other one that was there. These guys, to me, it's one of the greatest games in the shoe that we lost. We lost, I think, 29-28. The onside kick was fumbled by one of our interior people. I always remember Louis von Schumann, as the crowd was saying, block that kick. He was like an orchestra. He had his little thing and waving his arms like he knew he was going to make the kick. And unfortunately, he did. But from my perspective, that was one of the greatest games losing in the shoe that it just crushed us.
Yeah, that's one that people still talk about to today. Till of the greatest games ever played in Ohio Stadium. That is win or lose. That is right at the top of the list.
It was. It really was. Oh, they also had Billy Sims. My 4 years at Ohio State. The only way I can want to replay them is to win a couple of games that we lost, but playing for Coach Hayes and playing with so many great guys that I played with, like I said, I named a few of them. It was so memorable, so it was a treasure. It was just awesome to be a part of that. Be a part of that group for 4 years. I'm inducted, yes, for myself, but I'm an inductee for the 74 and 77 class of guys that I laid my life on the line for.
Thanks again for joining us, Aaron, and congratulations on being named to the OSU Athletics Hall of Fame. That'll do it for this morning's episode of The Morning Scoop. You can find us on Apple Podcasts and subscribe there. Make sure you rate and review the show. And also make sure you check out BuckeyeScoop.com. Get great free content available, plus some really interesting and insightful articles and other content on the Insider board. That's all at BuckeyeScoop.com. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you tomorrow.